Today is our very first Streaker Sports Thursday. And I know that like sometimes you don't want to just rattle off and get a sponsor going right away, but they're an awesome new sponsor. Let me just show you right here. You go to streakersports.com, use promo code 365sports. You see they have colleges, they've got defunct sports leagues. I've got here an old football league, the Hartford
Charter Oaks?
Charter Oaks Football Club. So there you go. I liked the logo. I have an Army shirt I will wear after the break. I'm going to change. I'm going to do a quick Christina Aguilera-like wardrobe change. Emery, come here and show this. I want to get this right off the bat because we're really excited.
That one's awesome, Emery.
Yeah. Emery's got the New Orleans Buccaneers, a former ABA basketball jersey right there. There we go. See that? There we go. Garrett, Boston University national champion. So, all right, go sit down. But wanted to thank a new sponsor who's been on board. They've kind of been on board for a while, but like we're trying to get the promotional aspect of it going. So Streaker Sports is fantastic. Use our promo code 365sports. Go to it. It's awesome. The link's going to be in the description and all that. Emery's going to take care of that here in a second. But you see that, good looking stuff, very comfortable, soft shirt as well. So, but yeah, I look forward to you seeing the old school throwback Army shirt that I have as well. And that's coming up. So, I forgot to get a co-host today. We were going to have Adam Winkler, and then it didn't work out. He's not going to be done with what he's doing until 1:30. So last night, a tragedy happened. I mean, it's very tragic and sad. Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog were found in their New Mexico home, and they had passed. Right. It's very suspicious. Nobody knows what happened. Gene Hackman was 95, but one of the greatest actors of all time. And so in a second, after we talk a little bit about Bo Davis leaving LSU and kind of what that means for their recruiting, he's going to the Saints. Garrett's got some nuggets on that. We're going to just spend the rest of the show debating sports movies because Garrett, Smokey said I needed to do a top 5 sports movies.
It's not a bad idea.
It's a very good idea. I said, but I'm a little bit nervous to do that because I'm afraid that I may not put Hoosiers in my top 5.
But that's fair. It's a real. I can see.
It's a fantastic movie.
It is.
It's a fantastic movie, and it's in a lot of people's sports top 5s. And so I'm gonna do a dumb thing here and dive into the chat.
I think it's a generational thing too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a generational movie as well.
I mean, I remember when it came out.
It was a hell of a movie.
I like that. I mean, I was like 6 or 7 years old when it came out. It was before that. So, oh man. See, Chris Cobb already knows my actual favorite one. He actually knows my actual favorite one, and that's The Longest Yard.
Oh, because Bert.
Well, I mean, yes, but like
we know it starts with Bert, Paul.
It starts with Bert. Like everything starts and ends with Bert. But if you want to know like the best sports movie of all time, I mean that's really where it is. Which, I looked on like some of the like other websites and they didn't have The Longest Yard, and it's angered me to a point of where I'm having trouble breathing.
I don't know if I would have it in mind. I was trying to think of like sports movies in general, but The Longest Yard is one of those where I liked it, but it wasn't like a regular go-to for me.
Okay, so which Longest Yard are we talking about here?
I mean, I've watched both of them.
Okay, I'm glad that you're talking about both of them. There are a lot of people who don't realize that Adam Sandler did not create The Longest Yard.
No, not at all.
And I was fine with the new one. I thought it was good. The original Longest Yard is so good.
I honestly,
so
I would
funny.
probably put North Dallas 40 above the old Longest Yard. I really enjoyed North Dallas 40. I thought that was a funny movie. A good movie.
Yeah. So, but that's my problem is right now I'm struggling with, do I put Hoosiers in my top 5? I think in many regards, it's probably It's definitely a top 2 basketball movie.
Correct.
Is it a top 5 sports movie? Basketball has been a tougher nut to crack than most when it comes to sports movies. Mostly because Hoosiers is really the only basketball movie that's about the entire team. Usually basketball movies are kind of about one player and how they interact.
I just thought of a basketball movie I love that completely. Sunset Park. Have you ever seen Sunset Park? Okay, Sunset Park has Danny DeVito's ex-wife is the coach. She comes in to coach this inner-city high school team. It's got a young what is his name? Who was the guy that was in the I'm terrible with actors and stuff. Oh my God. He was in no, I'll have to look it up. But it is a really, really good movie that I just completely forgotten about, but I love that movie.
Yeah. You know, when you type in longest yard...
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, okay.
He's Spaceman in it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to have to look that one up. I've actually made a change to my top 5 and included the longest yard, and Hoosiers is currently in it, but it may wind up out of it, and I don't want to do that on the day that we lost one of our great American actors, and that was one of his signature films. But even IMDb rates it as his 10th best movie. See, so like I have a hard time putting it in my top 5.
Right.
It's not even in Gene Hackman's top 5, but that's more indicative of the career of Gene Hackman than like the movie itself. Because like how do you grade a guy who is maybe the best bad guy in any movie ever in Unforgiven?
That's fair.
I mean, he was so bad. Like, he's the baddest bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's in that movie. He's also, like, he was the best bad guy in Westerns. His other one, The Quick and the Dead, not nearly as good as Unforgiven, but really good. Fantastic cast.
Yep. DiCaprio,
Russell Crowe, Sharon Stone, like, just really awesome movie. He was the bad guy in that one, too. So I don't know, like when I think of my favorite Gene Hackman movies, there are more that come up because I'm trying to think of, you know, like I think of The French Connection, which has the best car chase really scene in movie history. I think about how hilarious he was in Young Frankenstein, even though it's not a Gene Hackman movie, he just got a small little part in it. But look, he was Lex Luthor in Superman. Mississippi Burning is, let me tell you. That one you would, like, based on what you told me about.
I'm not doing none of that stuff.
How things like that make you
off.
uncomfortable.
Pisses me off.
Oh, yeah. It's so good, though. And the bird, like I told you guys about the Birdcage. Neither of you have seen it. The Birdcage is just wall-to-wall hilarious. Wall-to-wall hilarious. And so, I mean, we're getting there. Let's see. Wet Blanket says, just say you don't like basketball. I do like basketball. I don't know, like, it's probably going to make it in. It's probably going to make it in because it did kind of shift the way sports movies were made. So it was kind of groundbreaking.
Right. That was one thing I did. So I got to go to Indianapolis a few years ago, and I was able to go check out one of those the Indians games, the minor league team. I went over to the Pacers Stadium, Lucas Oil, and everything. I went to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The one thing I didn't get to do there that I really wanted to do was go to Butler to see the gym, just because that's where they shot it and everything. Yeah. That was one where I need to get back up there and see that. But I mean, it's one of those things that you can't bring up sports movies and not. Especially basketball, and not bring up Hoosiers. You just can't.
No, you can't. It's really hard to do. Kim Coulter mentions 2 of my other Gene Hackman favorites, which are Crimson Tide. Here's the thing: he's great in Crimson Tide, and he's the antagonist, but he's not a bad guy.
Right.
Like there's no the villain in that movie is not ever seen.
Yeah.
It's off screen. It's this Russian dictator who's going to potentially launch nukes. And then the conflict, Gene Hackman was wrong. And the reason I like that movie is like he's the antagonist and he's the I guess the villain in the movie.
Right.
But it's more of a discussion about like what's the risk of doing, like how far can you push doing what's right?
Right.
You know, or just waiting and patience and that. So like it's so good, and he's relatable as a leader, I think, in that movie, of someone who has done a lot of good things. He's decorated for a reason, but also, you know, the reason you have a second in command that differs in view from you is that so you don't become
a dictatorship,
megalomaniacal, right? Yeah. Like that's the thing that makes it go, right? Mm-hmm. And he lost sight of that in the movie because of panic,
right? And
so I don't know. I like, it's just such a good. I mean, when you have, hold on, let me. I'm going to tell you the cast of Crimson Tide, which again is so flipping good. So it's Denzel and Gene Hackman. So right there, you could have zero other people in the movie, and it's already going to be good. But you also throw in James Gandolfini, Viggo Mortensen. I mean, those guys alone, and then some really great character actors along the way. But like, it's got James Gandolfini and Viggo Mortensen in it, and that's good. I mean, yeah. So Tony Scott, who did the original Top Gun, did that movie. So I know this is not Sports Day, but Gene Hackman was so good. Barry Crawford mentions The Replacements.
That's another one.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. Like, here's the thing: The Replacements probably doesn't hang up as far as like cinematic gold compared to critics like some of the other sports movies do. But if you want to sit down and watch a super enjoyable movie that's funny, and everybody in it's likable, you know, Keanu's great in it.
Yeah, Keanu,
you know,
high hands.
Reese Ifans is in it, the kicker. You know, yeah, that one's very good. It's not on his. They don't list it very high. Right. Kim Coulter also mentioned Enemy of the State, in which Gene Hackman plays a little bit against type in that one. In that he's not a conspiracy. Like he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist. He's kind of a weird tech nerd guy that knows about this big government conspiracy and surveillance and all that. And so, yeah, again, he's against type a little bit in that movie, but still, yeah. Again, it like, no matter what it is, look, Welcome to Mooseport was his last movie, and not a great movie by like normal standards, but I'm going to tell you, I've watched Welcome to Mooseport a couple times where he plays the president who moves to this little town, and then he runs for mayor and against Ray Romano, and it's such a little hokey movie, but
yeah.
Tell you it's good.
Never heard of that one. So he was the president and then he goes to be a mayor?
So he's the president and he's done with his two terms.
Okay.
He's a very popular president, very popular. And so he moves in basically to this town in Vermont called Mooseport.
Okay.
And that's like where his summer home was. So he was like, the people in Mooseport knew like he was the president.
He was a regular.
And then as that is happening, they need a mayor.
Okay.
And so he decides they ask him to run for mayor, and they think he'll run unopposed, but he's also started flirting with Ray Romano's girlfriend. So Ray Romano, out of spite, decides to run against him for mayor of Mooseport. And then it sets off this whole chain of things because they can't have the president of the United States losing to the guy that owns the hardware store.
Right. Okay.
You know, like
that's funny.
So again, Crimson Tide, it is not.
Yeah.
It's not Gene Hackman's best movie. It's also not Ray Romano's, who's really good, by the way.
He's got a solid catalog.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a solid catalog. But like, yeah. But I am still stuck in this, Garrett, and we have not got resolution on this. Is Hoosiers a top 5 sports movie?
For me, it's not. Personally, it's not. I'm trying to think of like mine in general. I think my favorite basketball, if we're talking basketball only, Blue Chips is my number 1.
Okay.
I would say football movie, it's definitely The Program. Baseball's got to be Major League. And then I'm struggling with a couple of others, trying to figure out who would round out my top 5. I might put Sunset Park in there after remembering that. And then y'all brought up a good one in Miracle on Ice. And Emery brought up that might be some recency bias with all of the four nations and everything. But that's a badass movie.
Hey, you know what? Like, okay, because you can have the real spirited debate among what's the best hockey movie, Miracle or Slapshot.
I've never seen Slapshot.
You got to see Slapshot.
I've got to see it.
It's answer C, the Mighty Ducks.
The Mighty Ducks. Oh, yeah, Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, Emery goes for the franchise. That's what he goes for. He said, you know what? I see your Paul Newman. I see your Gene Hackman, and I raise you Charlie Sheen's brother. Emilio!
Emilio crushed it, man. The Bash Brothers.
Yeah,
buddy.
Yeah, so there you go. All right. I'm trying to see. Rolling Stone did the 30 best sports movies of all time. They ranked Hoosiers 13th.
Okay.
So, and they're pulling stuff like The Pride of the Yankees about Lou Gehrig in 1942, which starred Gary Cooper. Very good movie. Friday Night Lights, the movie.
I think the movie's good, but after watching the series, I think the series was better than the movie turned out to be.
The movie's a little depressing to me.
With how? Explain this. With the way Tim McGraw treats his kid and stuff.
I mean that nothing about
it is really happy.
Yeah, it's like there's so much stress in the movie. You know, it's like the uncut gems of football movies where like the whole time I'm stressed out for these kids and the pressure that's on them and the pressure that's on, the coach and all of this. And there's a scene in the movie that I think is one of the saddest things, but I've seen it happen so much living in Texas.
Oh my God.
The Ring, what's one of the saddest things is
pathetic.
There's a guy who's like 29 years old. And they're at
every small town.
They're at the drive-in.
Yes.
And he's like goes up to the quarterback, the Lucas Black, and he's like, "Get you one of these.
One of these, boy.
Get you one of these, boy. Get you one of these." And Lucas Black sees himself like in the future in that moment and doesn't want to be that.
Yep.
He doesn't want his whole life to be wrapped up around football. And having been to Odessa, not during it, but now.
I mean, you covered
done a game there.
Yeah.
I mean, because I read the book long before I saw the movie. And when I read the book, Buzz Bissinger did a really good job, although he's a crazy person, of painting the picture of like what the stress was of this and how like big a deal it was. Mm-hmm. And then when you sit there and watch it 30 years after the fact of their glory days, which is very much the case. Like Odessa Permian has not been
relevant in a while.
I mean, and it's probably been 15 years since they've been Odessa Permian Classic.
Right.
Where like you knew that they're always good, but they're not. I mean, and part of the problem is that
they're isolated.
Well, yes, but also the population has grown there, so there's more high schools in Odessa and Midland now. So since then the population has grown because of the oil boom and so you go out to Odessa and Midland. It's isolated, but it's bigger than it was. So you open one extra high school and that takes 15 players away that would have been on the Odessa Permian team. So that's one of the reasons they're not as dominant. You have people like you build a nice suburb in Midland and people move out there.
Yeah,
well,
Greenwood
then
blew up. You never even had Greenwood, and now it blew up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have that, and that affects the talent everywhere. So that's why, you remember how Plano used to be good at everything?
Yeah.
Well, now that they have 30 high schools, it's hard. That's why Allen refuses to get smaller.
Temple as well. They let Lake Belton be built in the Belton School District so they could continue to have that one singular high school in their town.
Yeah, but what they also
bit them in the ass.
What was also going was they had a border area where kids could pick either way, correct. And that's where they built Lake Belton, and now those kids don't get to pick.
And they also had let Belton get the elementary schools going up down into Temple's.
Yeah, so it's different. So it's it hurts you. Frisco, that's why Frisco just builds a new high school when they get to 5A because they don't want to they don't want to upset it's not just about athletics, so they just don't want to upset the apple cart of what they're doing.
Right.
But athletics is a big part of that. But yeah, Plano used to be Plano East, there were three.
About it. That's
there were two or three high schools in Plano. Two of them were good.
Yep.
And then one of them was I wish we could be that. And then, Richardson Berkner's right there, and you have all these that grew out of it. And then, and so Odessa Permian not immune to that.
Right.
Even though it's certainly not Dallas.
No,
right.
No.
But it is. So that movie is really good. I don't want to say that it's not good. But I also think, they tell the story of Odessa Permian really well. I would have loved to see a companion movie to that.
Have you seen the Dallas Carter one?
Yeah. No, the
Okay.
one, not Marcus Spears. Played with defensive lineman for Greg Ellis. Yeah, Greg Ellis was involved in that. But yeah, I mean, the Dallas Carter part of it, if you had done if I could go back and make the movie a series that was not like Friday Night Lights, the fictionalized series, if I could do that, I would do it from both perspectives because I think both stories are equally fascinating.
Yeah.
In very different regards.
Totally different. Yep.
Because Dallas Carter and Odessa Permian could not be in more different parts of Texas. Totally different. One's inner city Dallas, one's West Texas. And the amount of effort, I'll tell you, if you ever do get a chance to go to a high school game at Odessa Permian, absolutely go because they super care.
Yep. They put the light show on.
Oh, they put the light show on and everything. It was that was the night, I'll tell you, Smokey probably thinks of it as sad because that was the night I told him
I'm out.
I was retired.
I'm out.
I was retiring. This is my last run. But it was also being there kind of said, you know what? I've been here now. I've been to this iconic, Texas high school football thing. I've done everything I want to do in this form of football. And so I just need to, there was the cosmos telling me, You've done
the car trip on the way back.
So the car trip on the way back only reiterated why.
Yeah.
Reiterated why. And we were still really early on in this thing. Mm-hmm. So I saw this going in a different direction than we were at the radio station.
Yeah.
So that was kind of we don't need to do things the same way I did them before.
Correct.
And, plus I was getting married,
Things were changing.
It was all that was changing, but it is Friday Night Lights is up there. It's certainly up there. They do rank, the Rolling Stone article ranks Slapshot as number 7.
I've got to watch
Bull Durham, which is I think the best baseball movie, is number 6. They've got Caddyshack at number 5.
I've never seen Caddyshack.
Oh, do yourself a favor. Bad News Bears at number 3. Okay. Rocky is number 2.
The original? I hope it's the original.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 1976 with Walter Matthau.
Yeah, that was the better one.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the Billy Bob Thornton's one's not bad.
It was good, but it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same.
No, he's got it like of course, I think Billy Bob Thornton in comedy is better than Billy Bob Thornton in drama.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He's great. I mean, like, he's one of my favorites. Like speaking of Odessa, like Landman. I love Landman because of Billy Bob Thornton. If Billy Bob Thornton wasn't in it, if it was any other actor, it would not work.
Probably not.
It would be kind of meh. But he makes the whole. Right. I mean, there's really great actors in it. John Hamm, Demi Moore, like all these really cool actors. But yeah, but Billy Bob, and he, like, again, he was perfect for Friday Night Lights, you know. So, and I think Hoosiers is better than that. I'll tell you, I enjoyed Hoosiers more than Friday Night Lights because Hoosiers only depressed me for the early part of it. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, you have this euphoric feeling of
you get the reward.
Jimmy Chitwood and all that stuff. Yeah. Like, you get all that. Even though Odessa Permian won, and part of the problem was when it had come out, I had been living here for long enough to where I kind of knew all these things. So I was, and maybe that was, it's like a doctor watching ER, right?
Right, okay.
So I'm watching it, and I'm, like, really interested in it. It's
Behind
really good.
The veil, you know.
But, like, I'm still, of course, like 2009 is when it came out. I'm still watching it going, well, yeah, I know a lot about this. Like, do they know about this Dallas Carter team and all the stuff that, like, they really, really need to do something about this Dallas Carter team? Because I've done one game, Dallas Carter versus University. One.
Ooh.
One. Not a good night.
That was not good.
Not a good night for the Trojans, I'll tell you that.
I bet
Yeah.
not.
They did like the 3 years they did one against Carter. That was, and then they did like a home and home versus Lincoln or Woodrow Wilson. I can't remember. But yeah, the first year we, like, Lark and I went to Dallas Carter and did a game. And that's when he was, like, telling me all the things about, like, this is the team, you know, the book. It was right then, it was the book Friday Night Lights. The movie hadn't come out yet. He's like, you read the book Friday Night Lights, right? I said, yeah. He goes, well, Dallas Carter was the team that they played, and they had this guy and that guy, and that guy had Michael Barrow, and, you know, like, it was Michael Barrow.
It was Jesse Armstead.
Jesse Armstead. Sorry, Jesse Armstead. Michael Barrow, I think, also from Dallas, but not. But yeah, the Jesse Armstead, and Jesse Armstead's the guy who ruined signing day for in all perpetuity. Thanks for that, Jesse.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so that's why, like, I guess I was depressed because I just saw the strain. Like, they did such a good job of showing the strain of, you have this elite team, but it doesn't mean as much if you don't finish in a town like Odessa back then.
Yeah.
It's just you're gonna be kind of forgotten. And it's the okay with, like, I think it's like when, at least in the movie, when the team became okay with being forgotten. Like, if we don't win, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be, like, there's stuff outside of here. That's when they were able to kind of win the game.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the filmmakers also portrayed Dallas Carter is a little more antagonistic than they were, because you have to do that in movies. So I think maybe that's why I just wrestle with it so much. It's hard. Like, it's a movie that's hard for me to watch because I've seen it, like, in so many other, like, microcosm forms.
See, and this sets this up, because I've always felt like somebody should do a story on the dark side of high school football. Because growing up in a small town, I've seen so many people who invested their lives into that. That was all it was, right? It was high school football. It was the attention you get on Friday nights. You're the big man. You're everybody's looking at you. You're a celebrity, per se, in your little communities. And then once that's over, I would say probably 95% of the people in these communities never get over that. And they find themselves struggling to reach the level of hype or success in life outside of that. They never find it. And you find so many people who end up on drugs or alcohol and just derail their lives trying to just cope and relive that moment. And I think when you go back to that scene with the guy in the ring, like that, there's something to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I've seen it play out, like, personally so much where it's there's something to that. There is a dark side to it.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly is, like, just a stress to it.
Right.
And, you know, the best team that I ever broadcast was Midway 2017. They were undefeated until the state championship game. You saw them play. They were
loaded.
They were elite.
They were fun.
They were fun. They were great. And the thing that was so different about them, I noticed, is that never once did I talk to them and they ever had the weight of winning on. Like Coach Hume did a good job of keeping that team pretty loose and light.
Yeah, it was just fun. It was a game.
It was fun. And so that can't be the case ever. Like, and of course, Midway doesn't have, you know, other state titles. Like, this was going to be their first. Now, they've had really great runs, but they didn't have other state titles. So there was no burden on them to, like, do it like everybody else did.
Live up to, like, it's not like South Lake Carroll where you've got to be the net. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't win at South Lake or Highland Park or, you know, Allen.
Lake. Yeah,
it's you have a hard time, you know. They're like Alabama.
Right, exactly. That's great right there.
Alabama has 3 head coaches and everybody else, right?
Yeah.
They have Bear, Gene, and Saban, and then there's everybody else. Yep. Even though they've had way more coaches than that.
But those are the 3.
Yeah, exactly. The Cowboys have had 3 coaches, right? Mm-hmm. You know,
Landry, Jimmy, and
Jimmy Barry, and Tom. Okay. Like, that's everybody else is just a guy.
Yeah.
And so when you take the job of a team like the Cowboys, there's inherent pressure that's different than when you take the job of, say, the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Browns, like,
there's a standard you got to live up to.
Yeah. So it's the same way. It's the same way. It's the same way in Texas high school football. There's, you know, jobs, like, people want them, right? They want those jobs. But also, there's a couple people who might do really well in those jobs who don't even go anywhere near them because they're like, you know what, I'm happy to have my own thing here.
I'd rather have less pressure over here. Exactly.
I'm happy where I'm living. We're very successful. I'm getting paid. Like, I'm getting paid well. I don't want to move. You know, I don't need to prove anything over there.
Correct.
You know, so but yeah, I mean, that, like, I knew, you know, and again, the last 2 coaches at Allen have been really good friends of mine.
Lee and
Terry Gamble and Lee Wigginton. Yeah, look, I don't know if Mejia was Lee's first head coaching job or his second.
I can't remember. I think it might have been his first.
Might have been his first, but I mean, because
he was an assistant there, right? And then or was he the assistant at Midway and took over? I can't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know. He was, so I can't remember, but he went there, and I mean, they had really good teams. They had really good teams. But yeah, I think about Friday nights all the time in that.